demonstrator in southern Tasmania. Thanks for everyone for joining me today at this lunchtime. Hope you're having a nice day so far, sitting down with a coffee or something to enjoy a bit of lunchtime crafting. Excuse me, just before I came on air, I got a frog in my throat, so I've got some water here just in case I need to sort of soothe my throat while we're doing the video. Just going to check that everything's looking okay. Just checking my volume. Yep, okay, the volume looks okay. Okay, so today I've got two cards for you, and the reason I scheduled two cards is because this little guy here, which is the main event, is actually going to hardly take any time at all. So I thought I'd probably do a second card just to make it worthwhile coming on to Facebook today. So this little card here is my customer bonus kit for June. Just get him out there without everything going everywhere. So if you purchase anything from me online during the month of June, use the host code, which you can get the link to on my Facebook page, and I'll pop it in the comments as well. Use the host code, and I will send you the kit to make this little card here. He's a cute little guy. Actually, it's showcasing some brand new products which are currently available. There's the new in colours, which are the colours of the stripes there. Really, really nice. The green of the card base is Simply Succulent, which is just a lovely new green colour, nice and soft. And we've got the other colours here as well. So the colours there are the new in colours, and the little die here is from the Quiet Meadow bundle, or the Meadow dies, which is really nice as well. I think the sentiment I've used is from, and I've got to remind myself, from Colour and Contour, which is a nice little sentiment there as well. Of course, with my customer cards, I'll give you the kit and you can use your own sentiment, whatever sentiment you've got at home that suits the occasion for your card. So your kit will have the little rhinestones and all the pieces that you need to cut out to make your card. All you need as well, you'll need some foam squares or dimensionals just to attach that frame, and some glue for the rest of the card as well. So that's basically all you need to make your customer card for June 2021. So I'll just show you how to pop it together, and it's sort of so easy. It's really deceptively simple. So as I say, you've got your card base there, and that's in the Simply Succulent new colour, 8 1/4 by 5 3/4, scored in the middle. So that's my normal size card base. You have a panel which is 1/4 of an inch smaller, so 3 7/8 by 5 1/2, one for the middle there, which I might pop in so now just to get it out of the way. Just going to pop this in with some glue. So it doesn't matter how much you buy, place an order for. If you live in Australia, if you place an order online with me during the month of June, I'll send you the kit. You could buy just a little thing of glue. There's no minimum as far as that's concerned. You can get the bonus card. Okay, so there's just going to pop that little basic white in the middle there just to get it out of the way. Then what you're going to do is grab the other piece of basic white, which is cut to the same size, so it's 1/4 of an inch smaller than the card base. And this is the one that we're going to be using to do our layers. Now, I think I might reconsider how I did this example from how I did my original by stamping the sentiment first, only because it became a bit tricky to place where I wanted those strips to be, given the size of my sentiment. So I'm just going to grab a sentiment, and I'm going to use the same you are amazing, absolutely amazing. Nobody can be just amazing, they have to be absolutely amazing. And I'm going to pop that in the bottom sort of 1/4 of the card base. So let's have a little look. I'll just pop that, make sure I don't make a mess. Take my glasses off for the first time. I'm sure they'll be back in, so I better not put them too far away. So just in the bottom quarter or so of the card, just so you can build the rest of the card around it. So just whatever sentiment you like. I think it looks better with a larger sentiment because there is quite a gap there. So I'd steer away from like little tiny sentiments, but you know, whatever you're using this particular card for. So now I can bring in my little strips of cardstock and I can build them from there up and know that I've left enough space for the sentiment below. So what we're going to do is bring in our little strips of cardstock, and I'll tell you the colours as we build up. This first one here is Pale Papaya. They're all new in colours. The next one is Fresh Freesia. This beautiful pink here is Polished Pink. And then again, we have the succulent, the sweet succulent, simple succulent. Yeah, succulent anyway. So I'm just going to repeat that up the top. So go Papaya, Freesia, Pink, and then the succulent again to top it off. We're just going to basically glue or snail those down. I actually found it easier to snail adhesive it. Use your snail, only because, why was that? Because glue tends to go everywhere when I use it. So I found it easier too. And also easier to start at one end and work your way up or down rather than trying to start in the middle. So I'm going to start with my Pale Papaya. These strips are exactly 1 centimetre. So sorry if I've swapped between metric and imperial, but these are 1 centimetre strips. So the good thing with working with your grid paper is that you can line up your strip with the grid paper and know that you're pretty much spot on. So basically I'm going to line up one end of the grid of the strip with the same grid line on both sides, and I know that that is straight, and then you can basically build from there. So now I'm going to bring in the Fresh Freesia. Where they figure these names from, they're always quite tongue twisters. So if you're doing this one at home, just make sure that your strips are just slightly longer than the piece of cardstock you're going to be putting them on, because we can trim, which we're going to trim. Going to trim them off, but you can't make them longer once they're cut. Okay, so here's our Polished Pink, and then we'll bring in our Succulent. Thanks for everyone who's jumped on. I know I didn't give very much notice today. Just finished preparing and I thought, what the heck, let's go for it. You can see some new names there. Thanks for joining, guys. Yeah, and we'll start again with our Pale Papaya. And Freesia. And Pink. And then finish off with our last Succulent one. Okay. So lining those up as tightly with each other as you possibly can, you've got even top and bottom, if you can see that there. Okay, cool. All right, so now I'm just going to trim the edges of those so that they're in line with our cardstock, with our white. So just forgive me, I'll bring my little trimmer in, my little guillotine. Just line that up. And it's just a matter of just taking those off. straight. Do stick. Okay, and there we go. So that's trimmed off there. Get rid of the scraps. Get back to being straight again. Okay, so there is the background for our little card. And believe it or not, that's pretty much done now. There's not much else to it, really. It's fairly simple. So we have this is a 8 centimetre, just to confuse everyone, going back to metric, 8 centimetre, which I'll give you the imperials if it's 3 1/8 square piece of white cardstock, and it's got I think about, I'll tell you, I think it's about 2.5 inches or 6 1/4 centimetres, sort of a circle cut in the middle there, just with a circle die. And then this is the sort of head, the flower head of one of the flowers from the Quiet Meadow dies. And so that's going to sit underneath that frame, but I'm just getting it into the right position first. So sort of position your frame where you think you want it. Sort of pop that little flower there so it's sort of the bottom, the untidy bottom of the stem is going to be hidden underneath, and that'll sort of tell you where you want to be. So I want the top of the bloom, the flower, to be in line with the space, but the gap between the freesia and the pink. So I'll put some glue on it. Just a little touch, doesn't have to be a lot. Well, I've got quite a lot on the top there. Move that out of the way. I said I want the top to be in line with there. Just gently pop that down. Not too much glue there. Thankfully it dries clear, but anyway. And then we're going to bring in our little frame, and this is where you're going to need some dimensionals or foam squares just to pop that little frame up and away a little bit, and my paper's moving. Okay, so I'm going to use, I've got some beautiful edge pieces here. I'm just always use the edges of your dimensionals, so never waste anything. And just popping these on. So you want some in the corners, obviously. And then we're going to have another 1 or 2 in these narrow pieces here at the other edges. And these little edge pieces here, these little narrow leftovers, are perfect for that. Nice and skinny. I thought I'd better do this video today because one of my beautiful customers, who I haven't seen her name pop up yet, but she often does watch, placed a not very subtle hint that she would like this card for her birthday, which is next week. So I thought I'd better do my video quickly so I can pop this in the mail for her birthday next week. Still might not make it from Tassie. Tassie, this mail is incredibly slow, but at least the intention was there. Okay, so I'm going to pop that little frame, same distance left and right. Try and get it lined up top and bottom. It's a bit hard because I'm at a funny angle with this screen. Bear with me for a minute. I'll just move it a bit so I can get the same angle top and bottom, same distance, and there we are. So that's pretty much done and dusted there. We can just attach this now to our card front. Do something about that grid paper, keeps moving around. Just some glue on the back, straight onto our card base. There we are, a bit too much glue again. And up there as well. Gosh, she might not get this one, it's a bit gluey. Okay, and there is the card pretty much complete. Might now is bring some rhinestones. You should have 3 rhinestones in your little pack. So just pop those on around where you like them, where you like them. There we are. Again, you can use whatever sentiment you happen to like inside, or leave it blank, whatever you prefer. And there is my customer card for June. So hopefully you like that one. Give it a bit of a go. As I say, the pack will have everything. When you buy something from me this month and you get your kit, the pack will have everything you need except the stamp and the adhesives. Okay, so there is card number 1 for today. Okay, so we'll pop that aside. That's really sweet. I like that one. And now we're going to do a new design for me, something I picked up from a fellow demonstrator on our demonstrator support page. And for the life of me now, I can't remember what the demonstrator's name was. But anyway, I'll pop that into the comments as well. It's actually called a tower pinwheel. So you can see why it's called a pinwheel, because it's got the 5 arms or 4 arms there of a pinwheel. And it folds flat like this. And when it's open on display, really there's sort of lots of faces that you can highlight or not. So there's lots of, like, it's like decorating 4 cards, to be honest, because there's quite a lot going on. But I absolutely loved it because, first of all, I love 3D cards, as you guys probably know. I also liked the fact that it highlighted the beautiful designer series paper. So there was, lots and lots and lots of paper used in that. And I think that's really, really attractive. Anyway, so you can make it in different sizes depending on how you want to post it, or what sort of size cards you prefer. This one is quite large. This is the largest one I've made. It fits into a 5 by, folds flat like that, and fits into a 5x7 envelope. So if you happen to have those at home, that's cool. So it is quite thick. So my warning up front is, once you've got it made, don't go too crazy with the decoration. I know that sounds difficult, but don't make things too thick, because it is quite a substantial card, just folded flat with nothing else. But once you if you started adding multiple layers and embellishments and ribbons, you'd probably find you need to make a box for it rather than just a standard envelope. So as I say, that is a 5x7, and so that's a fairly standard size large letter envelope. Okay, so when I'll give you the measurements for all these cards. Don't worry, I'll pop them into the comments as well. You can see, unfortunately, I've been playing with my measurements down here, so I don't expect you to be able to see those, but that was just me playing to try and work out how to scale this up and down. Also, I made the same sort of card that fits into a normal 4x6 envelope, and that's this one. So it actually sort of, it's sort of shorter shorter and wider, so it's more of a squat one. So this one's quite good. Still gives you those nice surfaces to work with. So we've got that one there. And I also tried one that would fit into a 5-inch or 5x5-inch envelope. So that's this one here. So it is a bit taller and narrow. So I found that one. I think that would be quite challenging to decorate, because those surfaces aren't hugely wide. So if you had sort of tall, skinny dies and things that you wanted to use, that would be totally fine for that. But yeah, so I found that one. I think that one would be a bit more challenging to decorate. But the upside is that it does fit into a nice square envelope there. As I say, I will give you the measurements for all 3 that I've done in in the comments. I am actually going to make this one for you and decorate it. I think I chose this one because it fits in the normal sort of small envelope, and the width of these panels, these faces, is big enough to do some, you know, really nice sort of decorating on, in line with my original one. So that's the one we're going to make today. So as I say, 4 by 6. Okay, so I've got everything cut here. Forgive the crash. So to make a 4 by 6 version of this card, you need a card base. Well, I'm going to call it the card base, but it's really just part of the card base. And this card base is 4 inches high and 6.5 inches long. So 4 by 6.5. And what you do is you score it, and I suppose you can see the score lines there. You score it at 1/2 inch and then 3 more inches onwards. So 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, 2.5, and 3.5 inches. So you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines there. 1/2, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. And that's the basis for all of them. They all have that 1/2, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. It's just varies the amount of length you leave, and the height you have is the determining factor of how big your card gets. Okay, so what you have to do first of all is just add some glue, and I would suggest glue just so you can fold it correctly. Just some glue on that little 1/2 inch tab that we've left. Fold that over and firm it down onto the rest of the card. Too much glue, Julian. Story of my day, isn't it? So then what will happen is when you force that up, you'll get a little square. So that's the square that you're after there. So you've got the square there. So when you form that down, when you firm that down, it glues to the appropriate part of the back stage, so to speak. Then you can probably fold it again and just make sure it folds flat. So with all 3D cards, to actually test fold them is a very important step. There's no point putting your heart and soul into a card and then finding that it doesn't fold flat when you want to put it into the envelope and send it off. Okay, so that is the basis of our tower pinwheel. Then what you've got is also in the, this is Misty Moonlight, the cardstock, by the way. I'm doing this one slightly different to the pinks and the Highland Heather of the original one. I'm using a different cardstock and paper. And I've lost the original one. Where did it go? That's no good. Oh, it's in its envelope. Okay, I have to keep the original out because that's what I'm using as my guide. So this one is this one's in Highland Heather and Blushing Bride. This one, they're the card bases for that one. So, but this one I'm going to do in the Misty Moonlight. Okay, so what you do now is you've got your little base, your little start. You basically add some glue to these square forward-facing surfaces. And you bring in some other pieces of cardstock to form what I've been calling the wings of your pinwheel. Okay, so the individual wings of the pinwheel for this particular one are 4 inches by 3 inches. So, and I've cut 3 of them. So 4 by 3, and you cut 3. And then you basically glue, excuse me, I got itchy nose. You glue a wing to each of the surfaces of the little square, the little cube that you've made, or the little, square prism, I suppose, if you wanted to get technical. Okay, so there's the first one. So you can see you've formed like a little L shape there. Then on this face, pop a bit more glue, and then bring in another one, and you butt that up. So you're basically butting it up to the one you've just put in. So it sort of sits up against it pretty much exactly. So we've got that one there. And the last one, again, we pop some glue on this square face and pop the last one in. Might be a good idea to let them cure off a tiny bit before you add the next one. I found on one that I did before, I did actually push in my eagerness, I did push a little bit too far up, and they didn't quite. So I'd pushed the previous one a little bit too far forward and ruined the square nature of it. Okay, so there we are. That's our pinwheel. I hope that made sense. It's quite cute, isn't it? And that's the fun. The fun is about to start with the actual decorating. So there we are. We have our pinwheel. So what I'm going to decorate this one is fundamentally it's very similar to the original. I've got some paper from the oh, what's it called? Oh gosh. Paper from the, she says, grabbing the back, hand-penned designer series paper. So I love that. May not be able to remember what it's called, but it's lovely. It's got some beautiful colours on there and beautiful sort of little they look like they're hand-drawn blooms. I think they're really, really sweet. I've got some sentiment boxes and things from the colour and contour bundle. So these ones here, I've had to scale it down a little bit, obviously, because it's not quite as big as my original. So I've got the smaller ones. I've got the contrasting colour I'm using is mint macaron. So I've got some panels of that, and I'll go through what they are in a moment as well. And I've got some already stamped and die cut images from the colour and contour stamp set. So we'll use those as well. And they're all going to go on here. Okay, so what's the best thing to do, I think, is to get rid of your card base for a moment and layer these things up. It's just a bit easier to handle them before they start getting all 3D. So you've got four, at least you should have four. I should have four pieces of mint macaron or whatever contrast colour you want to use, and they're a 1/4 of an inch smaller than the wings that I spoke about before. So they're actually 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 in size, just to give that border around. And the paper is 1/8 of an inch smaller again. So we just get a small border. So I'm going to use this pretty sort of floral design here. Now this paper does have an upside and a downside, like a vertical and a, what do you call it? It has a certain orientation. So just be careful when you're matting these up that you get the orientation right. If you were using just a different paper, it wouldn't matter too much. But as I say, it has a distinct direction to it. So I'm going to put those on there. And then I'm going to use the contrasting side, the more sort of plainer ones on this as well. Plainer side of the designer series paper also. We've got those there. I've got this one here. This is actually a different sheet of the same paper. I just liked that colour nicer with my mint macaron than the original paper. So I've got 2 of those and 2 of the flowers. I think somebody's just arrived to drop me off some stuff. Yes, they have. Might just have to nick away for a second. If you guys can be patient with me, I'll be back in a minute. about that. I'm back now. It's just when you're alone in the home and somebody comes to drop something off, you sort of have to be polite. Okay, so we've got the 4 of those all matted up. So I'll do the same with these more narrow ones. So these are the ones that are going to go on those narrow edges. Apologies for that. And they've got their own little pieces of paper as well. So I'll just pop those on as well. So 2 with the stripes. You could use whatever paper you wanted with this one. You do, depending on the size you actually use the best part of a whole sheet, but that's okay. We've got to use our paper rather than just storing it away. So there we have those. 2 of those, and then I have 2 with that I'm going to use the floral side of. You can basically see where we're going from here. These will just go onto the corresponding sized wings, and then we can decorate the rest with our sentiments and little flowers. Okay, I'll give you a quick summary of the sizes of these. The narrow ones are 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. No, sorry, say that again. 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, and the big ones are 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. Yep, that's cool. So we've got all our little panels all matted up now. Have I got them all? 1, 2, 3. Am I missing one? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Phew. Thought I was missing, going mad there for a second. Okay, so I've got to decide which side you want to have as the front of your card. And I know that sounds a bit weird with something that's sort of like 360 degrees there. But if you decide that it folds nicer one direction, or you haven't put a glue splodge on one page or something like that, so just decide which way you want to be the front. So I'm actually going to have this one as the front. I think that folds nicest. And I'm going to pop these decorated panels in and around all of that. There's a lot of gluing to this one. Probably could have done some of this before we came on, but anyway. Then I'll put a little flowery one opposite that. Make sure you get your orientation right. Just like that. Blues and greens are really my favourite, so I really did sort of just come home with this one. Just let myself do what I like. Okay, so we've got that. Then I'm going to sort of alternate it. So I've got the big stripes there. So the next one round, I will use the big flowers one. In there. And then opposite that will be the stripes. There we are. And you can see this is building up to be quite thick already. So on there we've done floral, so this is going to be a stripy one, a big stripy one. So if any of my chatty stampers are watching this video, my little team that I have, if you're watching, this is the card that we're going to do at our next team meeting. So if you come along, if you give me a couple of weeks notice, or give me a couple of weeks to prepare the kits and send them out, this is the card that we will do together during our meeting. So if you were thinking about coming and you weren't quite sure, please pop along. I'll provide the kit and post it to you, and then we can have a bit of a craft together and a bit of a chat about how our months have gone and what's coming up with Stamping Up. If you do feel like you want to join the fun at Stamping Up and you'd like to be a part of my team, please reach out, and I can help you do, all the necessaries to make that happen, especially just if you live in Australia, of course. As much as I'd like a global empire, that's not allowed. Okay, so we've got that one there. So I hope you like those colours. Sort of, yeah, they're definitely me. Anyone who watches my videos will know that that's where I go. That's my default setting, is the blue and the green. Okay, so that's all 4 of our faces decorated or papered up. Okay, so now we can do the decorating. So whichever one I chose to be the front, which I think was that one, is where I'm going to pop our main little flower. So I've got a sentiment box in plain white, in basic white, with in the contour, colour and contour bundle. I'm going to, because it's quite narrow, still a little bit narrow, I'm going to pop that in up that way, just to, just so I've got room. Or was I? Oh, I've got to remember what I thought I was going to do. No, sorry, rewind. I'm going to use this one, which is the smallest one out of the contour. I'm going to use the flower that I've cut and stamped in black. And then I'm going to actually bring this box in over the top of it. So that's what I'm going to do with that one. That's what I remember. Slightly different to here because I had a lot more room to play with. As you can see, I could put that sentiment box in sideways like that, horizontally like that, and had plenty of room for my flower and my sentiment. This is a smaller space that we're playing with, so I'm going to do it slightly differently. So the colour, I held off doing the colour for that flower because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do right until the very last minute. And I think I've actually decided to stamp the flower in the pale papaya, so it picks up the colours from our that piece of designer series paper off to the side there. So here's my pale papaya. And I have my stamp here somewhere. Yes, so this is the infill stamp that goes with the colour and contour images. Now, this one is one of those stamps that doesn't go exactly in the lines. So be prepared. If you're worried about that, I'd suggest you bring in some blends or something so you can actually sort of colour it in correctly or exactly. But this one is one of those stamp sets that's sort of a bit artistically, takes a bit of artistic license. Should I see Gwenda? Hi Gwenda, thanks for joining me, love. And Lilani's here, great. And Sue, hey Sue. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this down in my pale papaya and colour it. There we are. So as you can see, it's close, but not exactly 100%. It's very close, just like that. So let's do that there. So we're going to do that, and then I will bring in this one, and I'm going to put my sentiment on there. Which sentiment for you will I use? Might make this one I'm using the colour and contour. Thank you for everything. Let's make this one a thank you card, I think. Hopefully that fits. Let's check that it fits first. No, too big. It's a bit terrible when you're the sentiment's actually dictated by the size of your sentiment box. What have we got? That one might be too big as well. Might have to swap out to a different stamp set because they all seem to be a little bit big. So let's do something else. Quiet Meadow. Let's have a look. Thinking of You. Let's go Thinking of You. So this is the Quiet Meadow one that goes with the meadow dies that we used for that flower in the first card we did today. What's that? Are you absolutely? Actually, I might use You're Absolutely Amazing, which is the one that I had on there from the previous card. Sorry to confuse matters. So we've swapped back. We're actually using You're Absolutely Amazing. Card making on the run here, guys. Well, not the run, live. Okay, so we just pop that one onto our little card, our little sentiment box. Last time I said this one is easy to get straight. I made an absolute mess of it, so I'm not going to say it's easy to get straight this time. Okay, there we are. So that's there. So as I say, this is going to go onto this face here, just like that. So I'm going to glue the flower. Just with a bit of glue. Just like that. So glue the flower. It's basically the full length of our face there. Now with these, be careful you don't go too close to your score line, because you will scrunch, you will sort of bend your flower up. So just make sure when you fold it that it doesn't get too entangled. And then with some dimensionals, foam squares, this one's just about done. Just use those, use my end bits. So you can use a couple of dimensionals on your faces, on each as you decorate them, but I wouldn't go too crazy and use lots and lots and lots, because as I say, you are going to build up to be quite a thick card that might become too thick. It's like when we were young. I don't know if anyone on here is my age and used to have shoulder pads in your shirt, and then you'd have shoulder pads in your jacket, and then you'd probably, if you wore a coat over your jacket, you'd probably have shoulder pads in your coat as well. So you go out, you look like some sort of American boxer. So if anyone's old enough to remember that, probably about my age. But yes, it's definitely a case of shoulder pad build-up when we went out. So this is what's going to happen with this card. If you put too many dimensionals on there, you're going to end up with the card version of shoulder pad build-up. Okay, so there we go. So that's the front face there. We could pop some just a little couple of rhinestones in there as well. But I'll come back to that in a minute. So let's move off to the side. So this one here, this is our next. So I'm going to actually decorate a couple of the sides of it. So this one, I'm going to bring in this other sentiment box that I spoke about before, and I have a couple of the daisies from the stamp set here, and I'm going to use those as well. I'm going to stamp them with the infill stamp, which I think I had, yeah, I've got blocked up. Going to use the papaya again and colour those in. So they are just straight from the stamp set and cut with the dies. It's a matter of trying to work out which orientation to use. This one is a bit tricky. There we are. So there's one. And two. There we are. So they are again just a hint of colour. They don't really colour it in completely. Again, you have that sort of artistic license, so to speak. So we've got two little daisies there. I assume there'd be a daisy, just something like that. Again, I'm going to pop a little sentiment in there. If you can imagine, I'm going to have one daisy up here and one daisy down here. So I just want a smallish sentiment here that goes with a "You're absolutely amazing." And I think I might use, I did see, I had one, yeah, I think it's in the pansies, which I'm told I continuously called poppies the other day in a video that I did. So apologies, I do get my flowers mixed up. There's a little Love You Much in the pansy set, which I think I'll use here because it's just nice and little. And everyone needs to be told that somebody loves them, so I'll go with that. Got stamp sets and everything out all over the place here. Might need to have a good clean up when I'm finished. Just block that one up. Just going to put the love you much just pretty much in the middle of the sentiment box. Yeah. And then pop that on there with our little daisies framing it like that. Okay, as I said, this card is pretty much like decorating 3 or 4 cards. So sometimes nice if you can use the same stamp set like I've tried to here. You can use the same stamp set and actually get a real use for the stamps that you buy. I don't know about you guys, but I've got stamp sets that I have maybe used 1 or 2 stamps out of, maybe the main, the main event stamp. But then there's lots of little ones in there that you just really don't get to use. So in this case, I've used pretty much everything from this colour and contour set to do our little card, because you do have those faces to play with. There we are. So I've glued those down because I don't want too many dimensionals to give me build up. There we go. So we've got 2 faces done. So there we are, that one and that one. I'm going to flip to this one here. So this is the face I'm going to use, just leave this pretty plain. I've got this sort of medium-sized sentiment box again. And I'm going to leave that plain because obviously there's nowhere else on this card to actually write. So you do need to write your message somewhere. So what I'm going to do is, just because I don't like plain sentiment boxes, I'm just going to bring in this little bud. There's a little bud in the set, just a tiny little bud down here. I don't know if you can see that, whether I've got it in the right place, just here. Just a nice little, won't get too much in the way. Just going to stamp him off, and there it is. We have actually probably used we've used about every one of them now. So you can say you've got your money's worth today. Just plain little black, and I will colour him in with the papaya. And leave that pretty much plain for writing your message on. There we are. And just pop him on there all by himself. But I think that's enough. There we are. Okay. That's on there. That's this card pretty much done. I'm going to leave the last one undecorated, just because I think, it's probably a little bit too much. But you could go whole hog and decorate all 4 faces, but I'm just, because that's the one that's going to sit towards the back. It probably doesn't see much need to decorate that past the paper that we've used, or you could even leave the paper off completely, I think, if you wanted to economize on your paper. But there we are. So I really like that. I love the colors. I love the way the papaya has come out of that. That's really nice. And the beautiful, the use of all the stamps out of my stamp set makes me feel I've actually got my money's worth, for at least this one, at least. Okay, so that is my second card for today. So as I said, you can do this one in the sort of smaller size for the small envelope, go all out and use the big size for the bigger envelopes. And I will put all the measurements in the comments after I finish the video. So we've had the Pinwheel Tower, which I think will become one of my new favourite card designs. And we've also done the customer card, which I'm just trying to find, our customer card for June as well. So hopefully you enjoyed both of those cards. If you have any questions about any of the products, please yell out. They are all current and catalogue items, so they're all purchasable at the moment, including the sentiments and all the papers and things. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and you'll look for my next video and join in then. So thanks everyone, and I'll catch you later.